Hi, welcome to Math After Hours with Miss Austin. I'm a licensed math teacher here to help you with your math questions. And today we are looking at absolute value equations. I really like absolute value equations and inequalities, and I have a video for absolute value inequalities, if that's what you're looking for. This is a topic that when I learned it, I really struggled with it, and I had no idea what was going on until someone taught it to me this way, and I thought of absolute value as a distance from zero. So that's the key. If you're able to think of absolute value as a distance from zero, it will change everything. At least it did for me. So I'm hoping it helps you too. So if we look at a basic example up here, absolute value of x equals 3. I have a little number line. I'm going to put 0 right in the middle. So what this is saying is that your distance from 0 is 3. If my distance from 0 is 3, then I could either have gone 3 in this direction, or I could have gone 3 in the negative direction. No matter if I'm here or here, I am 3 away from 0. So the answer to this equation would be that either x equals 3 or x equals negative 3. Both of those would be answers because they're both 3 away from 0. What you probably know about an absolute value is that when you see these bars, an absolute value will make anything inside positive. So we came up with these answers 3 and negative 3, but when you take the absolute value of either of those, they will give you a positive 3. So if we come down here to our first example, the absolute value of x minus 3 equals 4. So what this is saying again is my distance from 0 is 4. If my distance from 0 is 4, I've either gone 4 in the positive direction or I've gone 4 in the negative direction, and I'm at negative 4. So we have two equations we need to solve. Over here, we'll just add 3 to both sides, and we get that x is equal to 7. Over here, I'll add 3 to both sides and get that x equals negative 1. So that is my other answer. And so if you check by plugging those in, 7 minus 3 is 4, and the absolute value of 4 is 4. If we plug in negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, but then the absolute value makes that positive, and we get positive 4. I'm a huge believer in checking your answers, especially if you're doing a quiz or a test. You can always check your work and make sure you have the right answer. With the next example, there's a little bit more we have to do. You'll notice the absolute value has some other things around it. So what you have to do is before you separate it into two equations, you need to make sure that that absolute value is isolated. It's all by itself. So we need to get rid of the stuff around it. So I'm going to start by subtracting the 2 to the other side. And we have 5 times the absolute value of 3 minus x equals 15. 5 is out in front, multiplying by the absolute value, so we'll do the opposite, divide by it to get rid of it. So then we have the absolute value of 3 minus x equals 3. Now that absolute value is isolated, and this is saying that the distance from 0 is 3. If my distance from 0 is 3, then I've either gone 3 in the positive direction or I've gone 3 in the negative direction. So we're either at positive 3 or negative 3, and then we'll just solve each of these equations separately. So here, I'll subtract this 3 to the other side, so that's negative x equals 0. And then if I divide by that negative, 0 divided by anything is 0, so our answer is x equals 0. Over here, I'll also subtract the 3 to the other side, so we get negative x equals negative 6. And then dividing by the negative, we get that x equals positive 6. So these are the two answers. If we plug in 0, 3 minus 0 is 3. Absolute value of 3 is 3. And then we do 3 times 5, which is 15, plus 2 gives us that 17. If you plug in 6, 3 minus 6 is -3, but again, the absolute value will make that positive, so you'll also get 17 when you plug in 6. Our next example is a special case because the absolute value is isolated, but it's equal to 0. So our distance from 0 is 0. That means we are already at 0, so we're not going to have two equations to solve. We're just going to drop the absolute value and solve the equation. So I can add the 25 to the other side. X squared equals 25. And then how do we get rid of a squared? We undo it by square rooting both sides. But remember, when you put the square root there, you need a plus or minus. Then the square root of 25 is 5. Because 5 squared is 25, but also -5 squared is 25. So that's why we put the plus or minus there. So those are our answers. Whether you plug in 5 or -5, when you square it, you'll get that positive 25. Subtract 25, you'll get 0. Our last example is another special case. The absolute value here is already isolated, but it's equal to -5. Okay, well, what do absolute value bars do to what's inside? They make a number positive. So no matter what you plug in for x here, when you subtract 3, your answer, the absolute value will make that positive. It is impossible to get a -5 out of this. So this is actually no solution. Because if an absolute value makes something positive, you will not get a negative out of there as a result. So watch out for those. Anything like that will be no solution. I highly recommend thinking of absolute value as a distance. My students who think of it as a distance do much better on all these questions than the students who don't. And I can say that from personal experience as well. When I started to reframe my mind into thinking of it as a distance, everything made a lot more sense. If you have any questions you would like me to do, please comment them below. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.